Tampa Bay Spirits presents Haunted Campfire Tales Live. Welcome. Gather around the fire. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. The true ghost tales are about to unfold. Hello.
Hi. Hi, I'm Rob.
I'm Joan.
I'm Les.
I'm Beth.
I'm Robin.
I'm Joy.
I'm Jess.
And we're really glad that you're here in our audience, whether you're watching us now live or if you're watching the audio or listening to the video later. We're really glad you decided to join Haunted Campfire Tales. So tonight, Beth did a deep dive. Oh, Marjorie, hi.
Hi, Marjorie.
Hi, Marjorie.
How are you? Chris Christmas is hiking. Hi, Chris. Glad you could join us tonight.
Hi, Chris.
And Joe Conjal says, hi, everyone. Hi.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Marjorie.
Yeah. Cool. Paul Hollis says,
Hollis.
hi, Casper is here.
The friendly one.
Well, Beth has done a deep dive into the Akashic Record. And do you want to go into that first, or should we tell them about our last investigation?
Let's talk about our last investigation. That was
Okay.
so much fun.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Do you want to give us an overview?
Me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
Well, it was a small investigation, a private investigation.
Mhm.
And there was just 5 of us who were there. And a man who had recently passed, very recently, as of like November, and his family wanted us to come to the house because they had been noticing some odd things going on. And we indeed were able to have some communication with this man. And although we found that we believe, since it was a recent passing, that he maybe didn't have enough strength to manipulate some of our equipment. But we were able to communicate with him through the Estes method. So does anyone want to elaborate?
Yeah. So I should tell you that beforehand, I know that some of us had picked up on the fact, because we don't know who we're going to see or anything like that. But we had picked up on the fact that it was a male, that he had passed recently, and that he was a family member. So I know that some of us had picked up on that. And then I had mentioned to Beth that I thought that just that we were going to get the most response from the Estes method. I thought we'd have more luck with that than any other method. Anyway, throughout the night, we kept trying all the different methods, turning on the flashlight, turning it off, touching the REM pod, going near the cat balls. We were just, talking into
Trying
the digital
everything.
recorder. And so finally, we had no luck, by the way, nothing happening. So, but we could sense his presence, and Jess had gone in and she had said she'd sensed him in a certain part of the living room, and we found out later that he did indeed was in there quite a bit. And Beth and I had sensed in front of the kitchen sink, and that also was another place that he had been a lot. And anyway, another place we had thought we had felt his spirit was in his closet in the bedroom. And Beth had done the Estes method in the living room. And, he was saying a number of things. And and Les was trying to write down what he was saying, and I was trying to remember what he was saying. And I said, I had said, I want to remember that, because he had said, I'm trying. And he'd said it about 3 times. And so I said, I want to remember he said that. And then we went into the bedroom, and Jess was doing the Estes method, and she was saying different stuff. And so then I looked at Rob and Les and Beth, and I said, what was it that I said that I wanted to remember that he said, that Beth said he said, and then that Jess said he said? And Beth goes, whoa, that was a confusing sentence. And then we hear Jess, who can't hear us, yell from the closet, I'm trying. That was what I wanted to remember, that he kept saying, I'm trying. And that just cracked us all up, because he's like, dang.
I didn't even know that until just right now. So
Oh,
no,
do you remember yelling, I'm trying? Like,
Yeah.
very, yes, yes. Do you
And
want
our
to
next podcast will be on how to frustrate a ghost.
Without really trying.
well, from my experience, I was sitting in the dark in the closet, and I had the headphones and blindfold on, and I really couldn't hear you all at all, or didn't have any sense of what y'all were doing at all. But I could hear, and this was interesting because he was coming through, and it was almost like I was having to sift through like sounds to like hear, like almost like I'm trying to like explain, but almost like he was like, the voice I was hearing was like kind of in the in between of other things I was hearing on the radio, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was having to like pick it out, and sometimes I was like, I can't like quite hear what I'm hearing. Like I couldn't quite make out what it was that the voice I was hearing was trying to say. But then from my perspective, so like after we did the whole session and Dad came and tapped my knee or whatever to let me know to take off the headphones, when I did, and the blindfold, the people that owned the house were there, but I had no idea of when they came in. But I know at one point, one thing that I said, or that I heard, was, I hug you, I kiss you. And like for context, we go in, Les is the only one who usually has any information on the house and the people that live there. So I didn't know, and neither did Beth or my mom and dad, like who was going to be there, like their names. Like I didn't know anything. Like I just knew it was a private home. And then when we met them, I mean, I didn't even know their names at this point of the investigation, and or who they were to the home or anything. But anyway, when I took off the blindfold, they had like tissues and stuff, and I was like,
No.
is that what's I don't know what's going on or when they came in, but I think so. At one point I said, I hug you, I kiss you. And as it turns out, the 2 people that were there were the daughters of the person who had passed. And that room was like his bedroom, and I was in his closet. And so it was really nice. Like it was very sweet, you know?
And it wasn't long before you said the part about I hug and kiss you that the daughter had said, is there anything you want to tell me, Dad?
Dad.
Aww.
And then you said that.
And then you said that. And it wasn't too long before, I don't remember the exact time, but it seemed to fit perfectly. And that kind of broke her.
It did break.
Aww.
Yeah.
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 So sweet.
That was a very mean thing to do, Jesse. Just kidding.
Well, you also said sending you love,
Yeah.
sending you love.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he came through loud and clear. What he was exasperated saying he was trying about was that he couldn't manipulate any of the equipment. He was really trying.
Well, and it was, like I said, it was interesting on this because, for example, when we went to May Stringer, I feel like what I was hearing there came through really
loud and clear.
like sometimes like it was like really like intense there, you know, like not intense in a bad way, but just very loud and like very clear, like shouting almost, you know.
Yes.
But not in a mean, scary way, like just in actually a very funny way.
Yes.
But this felt like I was having to sift it, like in my mind, I see it like this. I don't know if this makes sense to anyone else, but you're sifting through sand and you're trying to like sift out all the rest of the noise to get to the nuggets.
That was a cat litter.
I was thinking of gold, but okay.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking panning for gold.
Joe Conjal says, do you think manipulating items is a learned skill for a spirit?
I think it's either a learned skill or they develop more energy as time goes on. I mean, it's hard to really tell.
Our thought is that it takes a lot of energy to do any of the manipulating of items, a lot of energy. And so sometimes, you know, people will say, use my energy. I never do because I need all my energy. So nobody's sucking energy from me. But they will drain our batteries. And we have that quite often. Our batteries will be drained and there'll be new batteries and then they won't be working anymore. So Beth had said probably we should get a pump that pumps electromagnetic frequency into the air to help them with energy.
And I do have the sense that I did have the sense, and I still do, that he was trying to get his bearings on where he was at and everything. He did touch my arm.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
During the session, when we were in there, when Missy was in the closet, he did touch my arm. So it was almost like a.
Did you say Missy was in the closet?
Jesse.
I said Jesse.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was like, that's the dog.
It's hard for me to just call you Jess. Sorry.
It is hard to call her Jess, but for us.
Anyway, that's my perspective anyway.
So
I forgot he touched you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot too.
It's been a long time, but it's just like, whoa. And there was nobody anywhere near my right side at all.
No, there was nobody standing near you, actually.
I was standing in the doorway next to the doorway of the closet, and everybody else was kind of in a semicircle.
Joe Conjal said it sounded like Missy to me too, LOL. I was met Missy.
I didn't really hear any more about that. So like, do you remember what we were talking about when he touched your arm?
No, I don't. I don't remember. It was a big surprise is what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got touched.
Yeah. It's always surprising when we get touched.
Yeah.
Not scary, just surprising.
No, it wasn't scary at all. It just was unexpected, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was really a good evening. And even though it seemed like, you know, I don't know about the other team members, but I can say for me, it's frustrating when we're not getting in a private setting, when we're not getting anything on the equipment, because you want to help that family, right? Whatever reason they called us there for, you want to help. So the best way to get that help is to be able to hear something from that spirit in a tangible way that you can show people, you know, not just, oh, this is what I feel. you know, that, and even more so when it turns out it was their dad that had just passed away, you know.
Yeah.
So
I, you
that was
know,
really good.
I think I've said this before, but I always find it really like, you know, yeah, it'd be cool if that stuff happened all the time. And like you said, for someone whose home you're in, if they're looking for something like that, like that's always cool to be able to show them. But I always find it very validating for the other experiences we have where it's
Mhm.
happening frequently and you're like, am I talking to a flashlight or, like what's happening? But it's validating for those other experiences where you're like, well, we have the same flashlight and we're doing the same thing, same method, and it didn't turn on once, like
All night.
the entire time. And so it is cool. I always it always makes me excited for the other times, when it does happen. It's like
That's a really
Right.
good point, Jess,
Mhm.
because we had that on all night, that flashlight on all night. And we
Mhm.
have people telling us all the time, the battery heats up and then it makes the connection and stuff. No, it doesn't. It's turned off. But okay. And, but, but that is very validating that nothing like that is happening.
Yeah.
And then, but also for the REM pod and the cat balls
Yep.
and, the EMF, all of that stuff, to not get anything at all
No.
is very validating because other times we get so much stuff. Well, Robin and Joy can tell
Yeah,
you
you
that
all were there.
there are times when everything's going bing, bang, boom, 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 and you're like, what's happening? You're very busy spirits here. So it's good to know that stuff doesn't just happen all by itself.
Haven't had
Somebody
that
has to manipulate it,
work video too.
So, in a weird way, I always appreciate the quiet investigations, and it can be good too for the people that live there because you can say, if someone was living there and you could say, hey, like, no, we didn't feel anything. There's nothing concerning or scary here, and it feels very calm and quiet, and so that can be good too, to just validate that, or finding some kind of crazy EMF in someone's house that's shouldn't be there, and that maybe that could be impacting them, something like that. It's always
and
good
there
too.
was no crazy EMF there at all. It was
Mm-mm.
very
No.
flat throughout the whole
Very
house. Yeah, and so that's always good too.
And cool because when we did our walkthrough, we were sensing stuff like I think in the kitchen, and then we went in the living room, and I went to an area that I was like, I feel maybe something going on over here, some energy. And then they had an experience in that very spot that I had said in the living room, that they had on, like they had a camera set up
Yeah,
in there,
yeah,
like a camera,
on a Nest camera. Yeah,
and it had gone off in the middle of the night, and they had some sound and image, and so that's cool too. I think that was like probably for them when we walked in, we did that, and we're like, I had no idea about anything, So I'm just like, well, I feel this here, So I would imagine for her, she was probably like, yep, okay.
yeah,
Anything at first, and we just tell them what we are picking up on.
yeah. Because we didn't know that, and I don't even know if Les, did you even know that had happened?
The orb.
Mm-hmm.
The orb and the whooshing
Yes,
sheets.
it was in the first email. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Marjorie says, what kind of things were happening in that home that the daughters asked for your help? Why'd they call us in there anyway?
The nest that we told you about, two things that happened on that, on the camera, and none of them lived in that house. So the one daughter was being awakened, like at midnight and 11 o'clock with that being set off inside the home, and nothing else, nothing else. And they were selling the house, and they kind of wanted to make sure that everything was okay in the house to be able to sell the house, because it was 115 years old, and they wanted to be sure they weren't selling a house that had something in it that shouldn't be there. And we were able to tell them there's nothing evil or dark here at all. So
I think I don't know, because I didn't hear about the email about anything they asked for, but it seemed kind of like they just wanted to kind of connect with their dad a little bit too.
Yeah,
See if he was
oh yeah,
okay,
they did
right?
definitely.
And they
But they
mentioned
were also
feeling him.
go ahead. Go
They
ahead, Beth.
mentioned feeling him when they were at the home, that they could feel his presence.
I think a little bit of it wasn't even like they were scared or worried about anything, but I think they were a little bit just looking for a little confirmation of that too. And like, am I picking up on my dad? Is that just in my head? Like, do you pick
Yeah,
up on my dad here too?
definitely.
I think it was a little bit of just that they were
Yeah.
looking for also.
Yeah. Joe says, of everything you do, is the Estes method the most effective?
And your spelling is correct.
Spelling is correct.
I would say it is one of the tools we like to use the most, but the flashlight has surprised me in the past couple years. We're seeing so much communication with the flashlight, and I really like that. I also like when we get communication with the K2 meters, but then again, you're just getting pretty much yes and no answers with the SD. So you're getting phrases, and
Yeah,
that's so
almost
exciting.
sentences. Yeah. Sometimes sentences. Yeah.
Sentences.
Yeah, like doing this one, I'll tell you a funny thing I heard. It was it was something about a cheesy mug.
Oh yes, he did say
And then
the
it was
cheesy
like
mug.
the cheesy mug. And then it was like when I said that, like almost like excitement that like, yes, that's what I said. And then it was like the mug, the mug, the mug, the mug. And I was like, the cheesy mug. And I was like, I don't know, the mug, the mug, the mug, the mug. And then we asked them about that, and they were like, I don't know. Like, we're like, did he have a funny mug? Like,
But they did know.
They did.
That's the funny thing. They kept saying, no, he didn't have a cheesy mug. And they kept looking at each other and said, no, he didn't have a cheesy mug. He didn't have a cheesy mug. And then the one daughter said, well, he did have that one mug.
So I don't know why he was bringing it up, but like, I mean, like maybe he just like, I don't know. I
Probably
love.
because as his daughters, they probably gave him
They were a little embarrassed about
heck
it.
about that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, I put a lot of time into like what mug I'm going to use in the morning and
Yes,
thought into
me
them.
too.
So,
Well, you wouldn't have wanted that one.
Me too.
I probably would have. But I love my mug. So just the idea that somebody like would even be like, hello, my coffee mugs.
Joe Conjal said, effective communication tool. Didn't finish my thought, LOL. Yeah, we figured that out.
We got it.
And then Paul Hollis said, mug. I thought you were talking about his cheesy face. Cheesy mug.
Yeah. He was a 1940s gangster, so he's like,
Muggsy.
No, he
see a
wasn't.
cheesy mug.
Instead of Muggsy, it was
On
cheesy.
that day?
Yeah, it was a good investigation.
It was.
It was good. Though I think it is, for me, it's frustrating when we're not getting anything. And I want to help them. But then it turned out to be perfect. So it was all awesome. It was really very awesome.
It was good.
Yep. and they want us to come back.
Yeah,
Not to that particular home, but to one of their homes because they sold that home. So we said, yeah, sure. Yes, we'd love to
Yes.
give him a second chance to redeem himself.
Give 'em a little time.
Practicing with flashlights all over the place and trying to touch objects and driving them all crazy.
okay.
Well,
Okay.
Maybe we should get on with the topic for tonight.
All right. Our topic tonight is the Akashic Records. And if you're not familiar, the idea that there is this library that you can access and find out about your past lives, if you believe in such a thing. You can find about the path that you're supposed to be on in this life. And it is supposed to contain all of the information, every thought, every action of every human being. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let me think. I have notes, but I don't want to make a mess of it.
I have never heard of this ever.
You've never heard of it?
No.
So the idea of when I have learned about it was that before you are born, you visit the Akashic Records and you are there with your spirit guides. And some of your spirit guides have learned their earth lessons and are no longer carnated back onto the earth. And so they are there to help you make your path and learn your lessons. So these lessons that you're to learn are things that you maybe didn't do well in a previous life, and now you still have to learn. So if you have an addiction, you want to get rid of that addiction, but you can't just go into life and know that you need that addiction. So these guides will put these blocks in your path, and then you have to, if you think of it in terms of a video game, you have to clear those blocks. So
hold on just a second, Beth.
yes.
So Chris Chrisman said Edgar Casey wrote about it, and yes, he did. He
did.
That's all of the things that he said came from the Akashic record. So anyway, go ahead.
Yes. And so they also say when you're there and you're figuring out your life plan, you are going to have relationships with at least 25 people who you have had previous experience with, previous lives with. And these people are going to become your parents, your siblings, your children, your teachers. So when you meet a significant person in your life, somebody who has taught you something, something valid, something that changes your life, and we've all had those kind of people, then they are somebody that you've had in a previous life. And they are also there to help you with your earth lessons, if you want to call it earth school or earth lessons, which I thought was a cute little term. So not all of these people are wonderful and easy to get along with. There are ones that are put in our paths to teach us lessons of how to get past other kinds of issues. So if you've had an ex and you think you'll never see them again, they just might pop up in your next life as somebody else.
I know.
I know.
I quit.
See why I don't believe in it? It's like,
Oh, God.
So these are kind of like your soul partners, and they're there to help you and to guide you. So some of them have been on the earth and they have learned their lessons, and they are no longer needed to go back onto earth, and they help you in the spirit realm. And then there are others who have never, they are human. They've never been human. You might want to call them angels. I call them angels. And they're also around, and they're around you all the time, and they're there to help you with your lessons. So a lot of people want to know, why would I plan this life for myself. I wouldn't plan many of the things that I've had to encounter in this lifetime. So, but those are
Appropriate
there.
music, by the way.
Yeah, they're there to learn a lesson. And you can also, of course, when you make these plans for your life, you have free will. So when you are living your life, you don't always follow what your life plan is. And sometimes you get yourself into a problem, you have a roadblock. Some of these times are when you have depression. Um, there are times that like that. And simply asking for help from your guides will help you get back onto your path and to work out those lessons. So you can tap into the Akashic Records while you are living and in this experience, but you always have to remember that tapping into these lessons could be very emotional. It could be traumatic for you. And so you have to be ready for that in your present life. And you can also do it, of course, asking your guides to help you tap into those Akashic records. And you can also maybe talk to somebody who specializes in it, a psychic who specializes in Akashic records to help you, somebody who will help you with past life regression. So they can also help you tap into those Akashic records.
So Chris Chrisman says, why we would choose to live this life because immortality is boring. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And Joe Conjal said, are animals and pets included in these records? That is a really good question, Joe.
It is a good question. I do not know the answer to that one.
And I know this is like really off the wall, but if there is other life on other planets, would they be included?
They'd have to be, wouldn't they?
I would think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all part of God's creation.
I think so. Mm-hmm. And Marjorie Deering said, ignorance is bliss.
Bliss.
On this count, I would agree.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said this many times before, and everybody knows it. There is no way that I would ever agree to live this life that I've lived.
Thanks a lot.
And he always says that.
I tend to think that once, if you have not learned the lessons, you aren't going to be able to teach others the lessons later on. So you are recycled back to learn these life lessons so that you can help others.
Joe Conjal says, what do I win for stumping the host?
Trip to the library.
I was going to say on a quick Google, it says that pets are included on the Akashic records. Like they have their own Akashic record because they're included in life.
Cool.
Because a lot of people are closer to their pets
than they are their family.
You know, losing their pets than they are some family members.
Yeah, because if you think about it, your pet is there with you
all the
day to day in such a in such a way that a lot of our family or friends aren't there.
Right.
You know, you're with them 24/7 a lot of the time, you know.
Right.
And so we're very close to it at least. And they're with you in times where a lot of other people, you wouldn't have them with you, where you're sick in bed and, you know, like,
right.
or you're crying and sad. And so you know, you're just by yourself, but like your dog or your cat is like snuggled up next to you and they're the ones comforting you and, you know, can be there for you in a way that a person can't always. So
when I had my near-death experience, which they call it now, they call it near NDE. It's been called many different things, but when I died for a few minutes, as I was going through the tunnel, it was one of my dogs that came to greet me and jumped up on my legs and stuff. It wasn't a person.
Awesome.
Mhm.
It is awesome. It was awesome then. It's still awesome to think about now. Paul Hollis said, are we aware of this pre-life as we go through this one life?
Sometimes we are, and I think that mostly that happens in childhood. And there are reports of children who remember past lives once they get to an age where they've been told so many times that's not real. That's not real. You have a good imagination, but that's not real. Then you tend to block that.
I think also feelings of deja vu.
Deja
Is
vu.
that the same?
Could that be the same? Or did you not learn about that? Or, what?
I did not learn about that. I'll always believe that deja vu is a validation that you're on the right path.
Okay.
And
Well, it could be part of it then, right?
I have so much deja vu. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But
Also,
whenever,
go ahead.
yeah, when you're feeling, you get blocked and from other life traumas from past lives. So one of the stories that I read was about a woman who was very accomplished and she did so many things, but she was a light worker and she wanted to expand her work as a psychic and helping people. But every time she tried to take that next step to reach out to people, something blocked her. For some reason, she couldn't go forward. She would be just paralyzed with fear, couldn't take that next step. And when she went to, he spoke to the woman who actually wrote one of the books that I read, and who's a psychic, and she does work with the Akashic Records. They found out that she had been jailed and beaten, killed for her beliefs and for the work that she did in past lives.
Huh.
So she had always been a light worker in these past lives, but speaking out about it had negative consequences, which gave her so much fear. It paralyzed her into doing so you have to kind of push through when you get those kind of blocks.
Explain to people what a light worker is.
A light worker is somebody who will work through spirit to help others. So a psychic, also, clergy would be a light worker. What other examples would we have? Just mostly someone who practices Reiki. These would all be examples of light workers.
Or anyone that was worked in a shamanistic way.
Yes.
Like when we were doing deliverance and stuff like that, that would be considered light work.
Mm-hmm.
But it was heavy.
It was heavy. It was really heavy.
It's not light work.
So if you wanted to find your spirit guide or talk to your spirit guide, you'd have to go to a psychic.
No.
On your own.
Yeah, you've never felt like a spirit guide or any kind of.
I mean, I have felt like family members or something like that.
They can be spirit guides.
Well, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
They can be your guides.
I never looked at
meditation. You can meet your guides.
Yep.
You go into a meditation and you say out loud, I would like you to introduce yourself to me. I want to meet my guides. Then you can often meet them that way. They'll give you their name and tell you their purpose, what they're there for, because they all have specific jobs they do for you.
Paul Hollis said, so when you have free will in the preliminary life with our guides and they are all helping to create good life, why do some of us choose robbing banks as a life wish? Oh, that's a really good question. Why would you choose to, I think that Beth has already answered it, but choose to go ahead and do, evil stuff?
Yeah, because it's part of your life lesson that you have to learn that, and you've gotten off your path somehow.
They
So
have, well,
they have gotten off their path and are doing things that are not going to bring them closer to God, is what you're trying to get to.
yeah. And so they choose, they have free will, and so they
So
make
they
bad
choose.
choices again, Paul, is what it is. Crispin said we all have spirit guides. Yeah.
Oh, have spirit guides.
Yep. I used to have this dream all the time. And every every night I'd have this dream of an indigenous person, but she was modern. She wasn't ancient or anything. She had a short bob haircut. She had on a plaid shirt and jeans, and she was riding a white horse. And she'd ride up on the horse and come to a stop in front of me and say, "I'm your grandmother." And this was in all the time. And so finally, um, and I don't know about, anyone else, but my parents, not Jess's, but my parents would, and I know Rob's parents too, didn't talk a lot about family or history or anything like that. It was like they were very secretive, that generation. And so finally I said to my mom, "Do we have any, Native American history? And she said, "No." And I said, "You're sure?" And she said, "I'm sure. No, we don't." And then my sister tells me she's having a dream like that. And I'm like,
Wow.
this is so weird. Um, I still don't know if I actually have, some relative way back in the past that was indigenous, but I do think that she is one of my spirit guides. That's who I think. And maybe she was just using grandmother as as an idea of her position.
Or maybe
And
your grandmother was an indigenous person at one point in one of her lives.
oh, well, that could have been if I believed in reincarnation.
Yeah.
So that
Margie,
was another thing I was going to ask you is could a spirit guide come to you in a dream?
Yes, they
Yeah.
can, and
Because I
they
have
do.
like really strange dreams. Like I'm in somebody else's life all the time.
whoa,
Rarely rarely do I dream anything that is my life.
Wow.
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Considering what we're talking about.
My whole life, I've just had very, very vivid dreams. Their color, and it's like I'm sitting in somebody else's living room or with people I've never seen in my life, but it's like I know them. So, but it's been like that all my life. So when I dream about somebody that's actually in my life, that's the exception.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
Marjorie Deering said maybe one spirit guide isn't as top notch as the next.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So then Paul says, well, whoops, wait a minute, sorry. Paul says, "Oh, thanks, Marjorie. I got a pre-life dropout. I'm having the bank, so they reached out to me how to fail again." My spirit guide sucks, man.
Get a new one.
Joe Conjal said, "I know this isn't a past life thing, but a few years ago, I got a call about a woman I knew dying. I hadn't seen her in years, and suddenly her name popped into my head right before the caller said it." Yep.
See, I
That was
believe that's your spirit guide.
telling you
Oh.
the name.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
They're helping you. I envision spirit guides as always being like annoyed with us and frustrated with us because how many times do we make a wrong decision? And if you think about it as the little good and evil on your shoulder,
Right.
telling you the right way to go, and how many times do we actually do that? So I
Okay,
think
let me
they're
tell you something
frustrated.
I told Jess the other day, and Oh, wait a minute. I want to tell you this. Chris Chrisman said, "Oh, interesting, Beth." And then Joe Conchel said, "It was a weird feeling." Yeah.
Mhm.
Think about how weird all of us sensitives feel all the time when we get all this stuff popping into our heads and we're like, I think that it's a male and that he died recently and, and that he was standing over here. It's very weird. You are right. It's very weird. But okay, so the other day I was meditating, okay? And this is the way, all right, that my conversations go with whether, you want to call it spirit guide or whatever. I was actually talking to God. And so I'm meditating and I'm talking to God. And I said, and this is what I say every morning when I'm meditating. All right, tell me what you want to tell me. And I'm listening. And as soon as I said that, I started talking and to him. And then he said, "Are you talking or are you listening?" Well, apparently at the moment I'm talking, but go ahead, shoot. You got something to say? And Jess and Rob will tell you that is the way I talk to God. But not me talking over him, but saying stuff like, shoot, go ahead. Like, yeah. Are you talking or are you listening? So,
No.
yes.
I have a question. I have a
Yeah.
question. Let's say something you really don't know that you've had knowledge about and it pops into your head and it's correct. Is that something that's being shown to you or from a past life or?
I would think that is your guides
Okay.
giving you information.
Okay.
There are so many guides, and we have them around us all the time. And some of them will take care of our career life. Some of them will take care of our health life. Some of them will take care of our younger self, as a child. And they grow with you as you age. Some of them drop off, and new ones are introduced. And it's just what you need in your life at that time. So, but I do think that when you know something you shouldn't, I think it's your guides telling you.
Okay.
So Joe Conchel says, "Wow, even God thinks he talks a lot more."
He should know.
Apparently, he should know. If anyone knows, he knows. I just thought it was a pretty funny thing to hear. Are you talking and are you listening?
So
It is-
I can't remember who you said wrote about this, but how does that person know? They got this information from the spirit guide?
Edgar Casey, or you mean who wrote the Akashic record, or Edgar Casey?
Edgar Casey. I mean, you said that he wrote about it. So how did he write about it? How did he get all of his information?
He used to sleep and he would get it in his sleep. And then when he would wake up, he would write it down. And he's like a modern day, who's the guy that made all the predictions on,
Nostradamus.
Nostradamus. He's like a modern day Nostradamus, and he predicted lots of things that actually did come to pass. I mean, a large amount of things that came to pass.
And I've read a few authors, and they claim to channel, and that's how they know, is from channeling.
Chris Chrisman says he dreamed it, sleep meditation. Yep,
Meditation.
that's what I said. Yes, that is what he did, and for years, and he would go to sleep on purpose in order to get the next message. Interesting. I mean, interesting the things that he said and that then came to pass.
And this particular author that I've just been reading recently, Lisa Barnett, she claims that once you tap into those Akashic records, in your present day life, that they will always remain open to you. They won't close again once you're able to tap into it. I personally don't want to tap into mine.
Right, me either.
Yeah.
Chris Chrisman said, "We think alike, Joan, LOS." I'm just, really sorry for you, Chris. I read all this stuff back in the early 70s. Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably read it then, or the 60s. Edgar Casey is always fascinating. I think it's because I have been seeing things and hearing things since I was like 7. And so, and I was told that there's no such thing as ghosts, and, that's just your imagination. And always had such a big mental fight about it that if I heard about other people that did that, I wanted to know everything I could,
Me too.
Yeah. I'm not the only one. Yay.
Now, I read Hans Holzer when I was like 8 years old. I was fascinated. But I was also looking to understand what I was seeing, what I was feeling, what I was hearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you seek out that.
Yep. Yep. They've reopened his files and did a TV program on it, Hans Holzer.
Yes.
Yeah. I
He had
watched
fascinating research.
his recordings that he made too.
Mhm.
And the different, psychics that he worked with and stuff. They have
Yes.
those recordings.
Those psychics did a lot of channeling also.
I think they were all channelers that he used. I will not channel. I do not channel.
I don't do that either.
No. There's only me in here. I don't need anybody else bouncing around in here. It's enough of a
A little
party.
bit of a control freak. I don't want anyone else having control.
That's right. That is exactly right. That's the way I feel about general anesthesia too. It's like, or doing drugs. It's like, nope. I want to be in the driver's seat at all times, please.
I agree.
A wild enough ride. I don't need something else going on. Yeah. So my sister was a channeler, and she was really gifted, and she died of a brain tumor, and I am convinced that it was from her channeling. I really am.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But I remember one time she said, we had a friend, Teresa, her nickname was Teddy, and she lived down the street from us. And there were five siblings, and I came from an Irish Catholic neighborhood. So this was Teresa O'Hare. And my sister called me up and said, I just saw Teddy and her sisters and brother go out on a sailboat up in Marlborough in Massachusetts. And she said the sailboat tipped over, and she said Teddy's caught underneath. And she said the other ones are out and they're trying to get her out and they can't get her out. And then that is exactly what happened right when she was seeing it. And Teddy died that day. Yeah. But she was right there, channeling that. Well, that's not fun to be in those situations.
No.
I think it's hard on you and hard on your brain and your body. Yeah. Sorry, Debbie Downer here. Now, how many of you want to be psychics?
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of the original and largest virtual library that there is,
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
right?
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap your brain around how
Yeah.
much that is.
Well, then, so if you also read about everything that's in the Akashic record, right?
Mhm.
You could look at it and say, well, that's God.
Yes. Mhm.
Knows everything, knows everyone.
Mhm.
Everything is written in that record,
Mhm.
I mean, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the one thing I take from it, and it's something that I always struggle with, is when you have these blocks, to absolutely push through them. There's a reason why you're having these blocks, and feel to push through them, get past it, so that you are learning these life lessons, and because we don't want to do this experience again.
Right. You don't want to do the negative stuff again.
No.
So, okay. Joe Conjal says, how long before Amazon has it on their site? Might be a while.
Mm.
So, as you were talking, I was thinking about some of valuable life lessons that I have learned. And a lot of them have been from people that I knew for 15 minutes. I had an interaction with
Yeah.
in a vital part or something at a vital time at something that absolutely changed my perspective on things or changed my direction that I was going to go. And, that can happen in like a job interview or, something that you're all ready to do or you're convinced and, and you talk to somebody that is really insignificant in your life
Mhm.
and they trigger something that makes you realize, not even talking about what that was, that makes you realize that was not a good decision. Or I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody else, but that's
Yeah.
happened to me a lot in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these people are put in place to help guide us through.
And I know when you said that, I thought, yeah, I didn't really know that person or they weren't significant in my life, but I started thinking about some of those key moments where I could have taken a different turn and because of something somebody said, it triggered something in my mind that told me to go in another direction or do something different.
Yeah.
It's like there's no chance meetings.
Yeah,
They're all meant.
I think God uses us sometimes and we don't even know we're being used. That we'll say something to someone and we'll never even know that something like that did happen, that it triggered something in them and changed the direction they were going and it moved them in a different direction. I think that's what I think.
I agree.
Yeah. Paul Hollis said, does the term Akashic have a meaning other than maybe someone's name? Did you happen to find that out?
I did, and I don't seem to have it written down, and my memory's so bad.
Jess is going to ask Google.
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
Paul, and Joe Conjal said, yes, it's happened to me, Joy. I think it's happened to all of us, right? We've
Yeah.
all had that happen. Where
And you don't think about it at the time, but I started when you were talking about that, those people that are put in your path, I thought about that. And once didn't somebody write a book about like the 10 most important people in your life or something?
I think so.
It was a really popular book.
Yeah.
And that people that changed your life and that were, and most of those people were very insignificant in what they, who they were to you, but the impact that they made on your life, made huge changes. And I cannot remember what the name of the book was. It was bestseller.
I've had somebody say one line to me, and it just was when they said it was like a eureka moment in your head,
Right.
where you were like, wow, and not even that what they said was so significant, but it just opened up your mind and you could see things and you were like,
Right.
that makes a lot of sense, you know?
And so it's kind of cool now for me to go back and think about that, maybe that person was put in front of me for that reason.
Mhm.
I'm sure they were.
And then all of those times that I didn't do it, darn.
Well, if you believe in reincarnation, you'll get to do it again.
I never really thought seriously about reincarnation before, but
I have. I'm one and done. Chris Trisman said everything is connected. I agree. And you never know how you might change someone's life with a kind word or a smile.
That's right.
you're right.
You know
So
what?
powerful.
I believe that, Chris. I think that's how the world is changed, one kind word at a time. It
I agree.
just as much as negative stuff has a rippling effect, I think kindness and love can
It's
even
stronger.
change
Yeah,
more.
it's definitely
Yes,
stronger.
I do too. Yep.
Akashic comes from the Sanskrit word. I don't know if you would say Akasa, or I would, based on other Sanskrit words I know, I would think Akasa, but that's because like asana and stuff like that from yoga. But anyway, it means like sky, space, or ether.
Well, that makes sense. The
Ether,
ether
yeah.
record.
Mhm.
It's in the sky, space, or ether. It's out there in the universe somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing I found interesting is that at certain periods through time, the Akashic records were closed down and humans couldn't access them at all. And they're saying that, like during the Dark Ages, they did not want the humans who were really having some difficulties on Earth tapping into those records at that time. Now, where we are in this period now, things are opening up, lights are being opened, and it's easier for us to tap into those records. But
Does that have anything to do with the planetary at all? I mean, because I've been reading a lot about that, about how all the planets have been lining up, and
yes,
that it's
I
a time
saw
for
that too.
change and a time to learn. And
yes, and more people are becoming more spiritual and more aware of the universe and spirituality at this time.
spirituality is a real buzzword. I mean, it's really popular. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I mean, Rob and I don't feel like we're religious. We feel like we're spiritual. And we've thought that for quite a while.
Mhm.
Because we were in the ministry and we didn't want people thinking that we were religious because we really know what religious is. And so we really wanted to identify as spiritual. And that's been a long time ago. But
Yeah.
also, we were part of the Jesus People movement. And this was, oh gosh, a long, long time ago, before Jess was even born. And that the Jesus People movement really, and this is funny because it was a Christian movement, but it really opened up my mind, to all things paranormal, and opened up all of my senses, and really allowed my ability to see and hear things. It just increased like 100-fold. I mean, it was amazing. Um, I remember them, Joe. You remember the Jesus People movement?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we know two doctors, a father and a daughter, who he said that he was part of the Jesus People movement also, and it caused him to go into being metaphysical, and he's a
Right.
psychiatrist. And yeah, Christmas said, "Oh yes, yeah, fun times. We had a lot of fun then. We really did. It was really a really good time."
Mm.
Learned
I
a
don't
lot.
think they came to Iowa.
No,
Yes, they did.
they come to Iowa.
I don't think they,
They were
Yes,
they were
they did.
hitchhiking.
I don't remember seeing. I don't remember.
Oh, this is cool. Chris Chrisman said, "I've been to the Hare Krishna temples in Philly back in the day." Mhm. Yeah. Yep.
They were always in the airports.
Yes.
Yeah.
They used to be in airports a lot.
Yeah.
But with security, they can't get in anymore, I suppose.
Not anymore.
No,
Yeah.
that was years ago.
Yeah.
We're showing
Yep.
our age.
Chris Chrisman says they were interesting. Oh, for real? Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. I love that, and the Dalai Lama and all that. I just love learning about all that. I really do. Love it a lot. So for this friend of ours, the psychiatrist, it drove him to metaphysical, and it drove us to Christianity, and it was the same movement, which it was a Christian movement, but it just opened him up to all things paranormal, and for him metaphysical. And now he is a psychiatrist who specializes in helping people who've been hurt by religion, and which there are a lot of hurting people that have been hurt by all different kinds of religions. And I think his daughter has a similar
Yes.
practice.
Yep.
She's also a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting how life leads you the different, even though you come from the same place, you can, fork off and go in different. And I did say fork.
Fork off. Yes.
Fork off.
And go in different paths. FORK.
Splits.
Split off. Yeah.
Diverge.
Speaking of fork in the road, bifurcate. But yeah, it's interesting. It's just, I think all spirituality really interests me. So, like Chris Chrisman said, Hare Krishna and
So
the
Beth, have
Akashic.
you? Oh, sorry. So Beth, have you ever had an Akashic reading?
I have not. I have not. I've had a past life reading, which I didn't ask for. They just gave it to me. But no Akashic record.
Couldn't put that genie back in the bottle.
Okay. Oh gosh.
What I find really interesting is that there are so many people that have these past life regressions, and they always turn out to be, Cleopatra or a king, or
Yes, I would say that's
always
a very
somebody very important.
Not Beth.
problematic part of
Nope.
Kind of
that
sounds like
whole
delusions
thing.
of grandeur, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, also some real problematic vibes there. I don't
There you go.
like women wear Cleopatra. It's weird.
There were too many Cleopatra.
Too many.
That must have been a very busy body, in her head. There must have been a lot going on.
It's funny that you say that, though, because my cousin, when she was like 2.5, used to sit and tell us about her past life. And she said she lived where there was sand, and people used to bring her fruit on plates as she laid on it, some sort of thing they would feed her. I'm like, wow.
That's right.
Sounds like life.
Why are you here? You should be back in the sand with people peeling grapes for you.
Your vacation in Tampa. You never know.
Well,
Yeah, right.
Beth, I know, like, you do Reiki, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, some people use or like incorporate the Akashic record into their Reiki practice. Have you ever
I've not heard of that or ever done that now.
done it? Okay.
Chris Crispin says, no, my past lives were normal, boring people, lol. Joe Conjal said, is it possible that, oh, that's an interesting,
Ooh.
that does make a lot of sense. Is it possible that past life and time travel is somehow connected? Joe, we're saying all the time about like the spirit that we get in touch with and stuff. We're always saying we don't really know who we're talking with, and
Right.
it could be a time slip. It could be, we don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know, and we don't know. And Chris Crispin said, I've wondered that, Joe. And Paul said, great question, Joe. Yeah, that I don't see what it
It's
kind of
entirely
it is
possible.
time travel, isn't
Yeah.
it? Anyway, whether it's mental time travel or physical time travel, it's time travel. If you've lived in the past and you're living now, that you have traveled through time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I wonder about that too, Joe. That's I never thought about that, but I do know that when we're talking with spirit and getting in touch with spirit, I'm wondering, who am I really talking to? Could it be a time traveler? Could it be an alien? Could it be the spirit of the person that they say that it is? That's why we investigate, isn't it? Because we want to know, we want to understand.
We want answers.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I think, Joy, you were asking, like, well, how did that author, Casey, like, how did he know this information, right? Like,
Right.
and I think, like for him, that's his truth. And that there are a lot of people that are like, yes, this rings true to me. And I experience things that validate this for me and all that stuff. But there's no way to prove it, right?
No.
Like, yeah, it's not a science. So,
You're right. It's going to resonate with people or it's
Prove.
not.
yeah. And there's no way to say, like, it's actual true, like what he's saying, it's just what he
Right.
feels and believes that he has figured out from meditating and tapping into those spiritual resources he has, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but yeah.
Chris Crispin said, I'd love to be able to prove a past life somehow. You should be able to look it up.
In the library.
Well, no, that you can look things up, the records up, and Then he said Casey did a lot of medical readings that healed people. See, that was the big thing about the Jesus people, that there was a lot of healings and people did healings and
Mhm.
signs and wonders and all kinds of things. Maybe when you die, you wind up in a different body because you got turned into the wrong off ramp. I'm using a GPS right now.
That doesn't take you to the
That's-
right place sometimes.
that's-
Though.
Oh, that's true.
Our GPS you wouldn't want to use.
No.
Joe Conjal said that would be cool, Chris, to be able to prove his past lives. That would be very cool. Yeah. So that was the thing about the Jesus people, is that from there we got involved in the shepherding movement, which really went off track really, really bad. And then we were with the Vineyard, which was another signs and wonders. And yeah, we've had crazy things happen. Like, I can remember I was praying for somebody one time, and I had put my hand on top of her head to pray, and I had anointing oil come out of the palms of my hands. My hands got very hot, and you could actually smell incense off
Oh,
of
wow.
my hands, and you could see the oil. That only happened once, but that was pretty bizarre.
Wow, that's so cool.
Years
Yeah, it
ago,
was
when,
cool. Go ahead.
sorry. As I said, years ago when my mother was alive, she had cancer and had radiation, no, cobalt radiation, some other treatment that had totally damaged the nerves, so she couldn't pick up her leg. If she was laying on her back, she couldn't pick up her leg. And I remember my brother being into, for a short period, being into the whole Jesus people thing, and they came and prayed for her, and she was able to lift her leg up after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I saw it. It was not like she just said it was true. She was
No.
crying.
Yeah. And we were able to really help a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of people healed and, you know, a lot of legs grown that were
And I
uneven.
don't know that they called it the something else when I was in high school. Some other they were called the I don't remember, but it was about Jesus, but I just don't remember exactly what they called themselves at that period. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was amazing. It was something to see.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great to be able to help people, right? That's the whole point of being here.
Yes.
I think is to love people and help them. I think that's why we're here. Chris Chrisman said, would that be Jesus freaks?
That was it. Jesus freaks is what they called them where I was growing up. So
But
they
there
did
were
call
during
them.
that time there were a lot of charlatans out there too.
There
They were-
still are.
Yeah,
always
there
is.
always are.
Human
Yeah.
nature.
And, yeah, which made everybody dubious of that
Of the
everybody was
reality.
out for
Yeah.
something. And,
Yeah. Yep. There always is.
It's
Yeah.
just like, ghost hunting or paranormal investigation.
Yes.
You
Right.
can't, it doesn't really, I mean, we believe what we see and experience as
Right.
genuine, but other people looking at it, they look at it through different eyes and different experiences, and they may not believe it. We
And
know
that's
what we
okay.
see and experience.
And
Right.
there are a lot of charlatans,
Yeah.
psychics and mediums and paranormal investigators
Yeah.
that are full of it. And so that gives everybody a bad name.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing
Same thing.
with anyone that's healing in the name of Jesus.
Excuse me.
They can be a charlatan or they could be the real deal. So,
Right.
and we all know those television shows that are people a bad name.
I saw one the other night where they were in France and they were asking all their questions in English and they had the spirit box and all the words were coming in English. I'm like, you're in a castle, a medieval castle in France. Why would you even think they speak English? Yeah, I was yelling at the TV.
I'm sure you were.
Oh yeah.
I do the same thing. Sometimes I watch those programs and Rob will tell you I go bat blank crazy. I just get so angry. I'm like, this is so ridiculous. The things that really bothers me are the paranormal investigators that say, oh, I've been doing this for 1,000,000 years and, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll be sitting down in a REM pod that's over there will go off and they'll go, oh my God, and run away. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Right. It's
There is comedic value to
that.
There is
What
that.
is going on here? Isn't this the reason that you're here? It's like, it really aggravates me.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're laughing their way to the bank.
They
Yeah.
are, though. Yeah. Yeah.
They
It's
are laughing their
entertainment.
way to the bank.
Whether it's for money or fame or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like so stupid. And the reason they do that is because that's what America wants to see. America wants to be
see.
scared. And
Yeah.
okay, so when we went to May Stringer the last time, you guys, we've told you about it, and we've done investigations there and stuff. an author, one of the authors that we know, and his wife came with us. And afterwards, they said something that really touched me and that I really, really liked. And they said that they were so surprised that it was nothing like they thought it was going to be, and that they could sense the difference when we were in talking to different spirits. They said, you can sense the difference. You can sense that they're different people. And we said, yeah. And Beth said to them, that's right. They all have different personalities, just like us. But it was really wonderful that it wasn't what they expected, that it was better, and that that spirit had become humanized for them. Because,
Yeah.
that really made my day. That was so happy, because they probably went there expecting it to be scary and spooky and people yelling,
Like
and
TV.
running away.
Dramatic.
Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah. And instead we were laughing and joking and or maybe sometimes crying, because depending. One thing that happened at that day was when that cat ball was rolled down the floor at Rob's foot and hit his foot.
Mhm.
Jess and I kept trying to prove that it was just a tilted room or something. It's like, why did that spirit smack you with a ball, honey? So hard and fast. And one of the docents said to me afterwards, oh, that happened. Oh, they really like you guys then.
Mhm.
Chris Crispin said, we believe only what we want to believe. Sigh. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're all like that, I guess.
I don't know. You're all so open. I don't think you would ever just dismiss something outright. I mean, I know there are people I know that no matter how much you say something to them, explain something to them, they can only see things through their own eyes
Yeah.
and they can't expand. Whereas anytime somebody talks to me, I'm always like, huh, well, let me think about that. And whether I end up believing it or not, I will give it a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think we're all like that. Everyone here on this panel I know is like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I
They
think
want to know the truth.
when sometimes people are so far out of their comfort zone that they can't, it's easier to close it off than
Right.
because
Yeah.
I've had people, tell me that it didn't matter what anybody showed them, they would still not believe that. I mean, because
Right.
that it was against religion or
Yes.
whatever, and they're just. I think that they have they live in their square box of what the world is supposed to be, and that's where it needs to be for their comfort zone.
And the truth is, the world is a very unsettling place.
Yes.
It is. And some people, a lot of people feel the same way about UFOs. It's easier to not conceive that could be possible,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
because it's scary. There's
it's
so many,
scary.
there's already enough variables out there that terrify us every day.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that that's one of the biggest things that I want people to know is that that what we do, that the paranormal investigations and in talking with spirit and stuff, that it isn't scary. They're just people, and some of them are nice and some of them are not nice. It's just some of them are friendly and some of them are talkative and some of them are not. It's just people. I just don't want people being afraid of it all the time.
Right.
Right.
I remember somebody said to me once, "How can you believe that?" And I said, "How?" I said, "Well, it should be reassuring to you that there is something after death. but that wasn't their idea. That wasn't how they wanted it to be. And I was just shut down, but it's like, it's okay. You don't have to believe what I believe.
Right. But respect what you believe.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm really big advocate of that. I think we need to respect what each other believes. Give everybody room to believe what they believe and listen. I found what you had to say interesting and informative, Beth, and thank you. And plus what everybody else had to put into it too.
For sure.
I learned a lot about it because I didn't really know anything about that at all.
Yes. Jung believed in the collective conscious. And so his belief was that you could tap into that collective conscience. And so it sounds very similar to the Akashic record because you can tap into it and learn what you need to learn, and that it's available to people to do that. Joe Conjal said, too many people think only their opinion is correct. That is a problem,
It is a
isn't it,
huge
Joe?
problem.
I think it's just not intelligent to think that way because, there's an awful lot of people and we've all lived different lives and we're all going to look at things through our own filter, and everybody's filter is going to be different.
And how sad for them.
It is sad. kind of a narrow life, right?
Right. Yeah. You're limiting your opportunities and life experiences that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
Well, and somewhere along the last 10 years or so, it's become that, you're not, if you don't think like me, then there's something wrong with you. Everybody's holding on to their own opinion so much that they've forgotten that it's okay for other people to be different, or we would all be little Stepfords,
Yeah, right. We'd be like minions.
Well, we're going on an hour and a half now.
Oh my goodness. We always keep you people so long.
We do.
Our audience, Well, if any of you were, Joe Conjal says, well, we're certainly seeing that in the country right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm saying more love.
A whole nother show.
Yes.
More love. It's a show we won't be doing. No, but it is a whole other show.
Yeah.
Chris Chrisman said, great conversation tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Beth, for all that deep
Yes,
dive.
thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
That's a lot of good information. Good information that stimulated a lot of thought that I'm gonna pursue looking into.
Oh, good.
I do want everyone in our audience to know that some of you I know listened to our podcast last night, and Brad Wagnon, who is a member of the Cherokee tribe, is going to be on our podcast either in April or May, and also Richard. Okay, his last name just went out of Schwint. Is also going to be on our show either in March or April. March or April for both of them. Yeah. Either one will be on one month and the other will be on the other. And Richard Schwint is part of our Underground Authors group, and he is a retired psychotherapist, and he has some stories that he'd like to share and that I think you'd find very interesting. Plus, we can talk about past regressions and stuff like that, because he has done some and he knows a lot of psychotherapists that actually specialize in that. So he can't speak about specific patients, but he can talk about general things.
Psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's offered to do.
Norman Bates.
He's offered to talk to you, Les.
Yeah, I think he'll have a lot of fun with the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, we also have 2 groups have reached out to us and asked us to join their podcast as special guests for them.
Nice.
So when we
Oh, that's great.
information about that, we'll share that so that maybe you could tune in.
There
Okay.
you go.
Is that the correct term? Tune in to podcast? I don't
Sure.
know.
Sure.
Yeah.
It works.
Why not?
We can, Les will say you can ring it on up.
Bring it up.
There you go.
Bring it on up on that computer. That's
So our next podcast will be March 27th, which is the last Thursday, of course, in March. So
And
it'll
that'll be the Richard or Brad.
probably Richard or Brad, probably. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. So
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Paul Hollis says, wonderful information. Thanks, everyone.
thanks,
And-
Paul.
Marjorie Deering said, good night, everyone. Thanks. Thank you all for coming
Thank
and
you.
Good night, everybody.
participating.
Good night.
And people are listening to this afterwards. They download it and listen afterwards. So
Cool.
that's really cool.
All right. So I guess until next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.